Hey everyone, this is Chris and Sandy Bit with the Chris and Sandy Show. We get up close and personal with some amazing guests throughout the entertainment industry. And today, like I say on every episode, we got a great show for you. We have
Yes, we have Catherine Brewton. She is one of music industry's leading executives as the vice president of BMI. With an appreciation of legacy artists and an ear for current trends, Catherine has been named on Billboard's 2020 R&B Hip Hop Power Players list. She also sits as the Diversity, Equality, Inclusion Chair at BMI.
and we're
Hi.
excited to have
Yeah,
Catherine on. So
we
welcome to the
are.
show.
Yes,
So nice
welcome.
to meet you both. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh,
It's
thanks
our
for being
pleasure.
here.
And I guess we could just talk a little bit about what today represents the 1 year
Yes.
anniversary of the whole Floyd thing.
Yes.
It's so interesting because every time and I say think, but I feel so encouraged because I think a light has been shed on
Yeah.
a lot
Absolutely.
of the inequalities that have been a thing, and I think companies and certainly the world mask diversity and inclusion with having people in the building, and I think the numbers are often were skewed at
Mhm.
low, having minorities and low level positions. But when we really the country start to look at whether it be banking, opportunities for healthcare, the disparities were really vast. And so
Wow.
I think
Wow.
1 year later we've made some strides. I am, as recent as yesterday, had an internal call about the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, and how to we as individuals have to be open to the conversations even if we don't understand them.
Yep.
Yes.
And I think I've said more than once, we can't put it on Black people or minorities to fix how they've been treated. I think everybody has to say we all have unconscious biases. Let's start there. That's the starting place for all of us. But I
Yeah.
think the more we can have open dialogue and understand that there's no quick fix to institutional racism, we will be better for it. And it's been proven time and time and time and time again that, you know, having a workplace and your circles be diverse is just the world we live in. And
Our
when
guest is
it,
is really diverse. I mean, if you look
Yes.
back at our
We love
past
that.
guests,
no, it's you
we
guys been great. And that's
Oh,
what helps move the needle. We have to be open to, having these
mhm.
dialogue that allows
Oh,
us to
yes.
talk about spaces that
Hmm.
historically have been. I think they've had surface conversations. I think now the real conversations are being had. So I'm super happy about that.
and I'm
Yes, that's
glad
a
to
good
see
thing.
too on both sides, because I think sometimes what I see happen a lot is, and this happens on both sides, is both sides won't listen to both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
And-
They're talking
misunderstandings
they're talking
happen.
at each other and not with, and not allowing the real dialogue to be had. And again, I'm fortunate because I grew up in my family, my mom was very diverse. Like, she
oh wow.
welcomed everybody in her home. So
Oh,
I didn't
awesome.
have that compass. So going into
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
workplace for me, my friends were already, my best friend of 25 years is white.
Wow.
So I don't have this us or them, but when I see in the inequities happening to my colleagues or to my friends outside the building, I'm one to speak up because I've been afforded the opportunity to have been the first, Black executive to be an officer at BMI and the first
Oh,
at the
wow.
Grammys to open and all. So all of those things, not knowing the milestones that I had accomplished, but
Yeah.
realizing it came with
Yeah.
the responsibility to say, hey, now it's just not enough for me to be at the table. We have to make sure that there's others that come behind me that will
That's
have a
just like
seat.
on our show, we feel the
Hmm.
responsibility that we have to reach out to the Black community too to get
Absolutely.
them as guests.
So if you
And
come
what's
in, we can
funny
have
is,
discussions.
a few months ago, we actually had a guest, or not a guest on, but a guest I reached out to, one of the celebrities,
Hmm.
and she's white.
Mhm.
And she's
Yes,
like,
it
"Well,
was an
I can't
actress.
do your show because it's not diverse enough." And we started out as a country music interview
I love
platform,
Yeah,
that.
we've evolved
and
over time.
and we've evolved, and it's like for the first time in my life, I had a celebrity actually have to apologize to us because I let her know it's not that it's, the question shouldn't be that you don't have diversity. The question she should have asked is, why didn't we at that time? Because
Yeah.
we've reached out 200, 300, 400 guests of minorities, but kept getting turned down.
But lately,
But all of a
we've
sudden
had
now they're, and
They're
we're
here.
taking them.
glad. Yeah.
And we've had a bunch of minority guests, and
Yes.
and our show's
we
probably
love that.
been 70% women. So
I love
that side we got
Right.
covered.
I love that. And again, I think when you know better, you do better. I don't ever put it on people to believe that there's ill intent in everything. And that's the other end of the spectrum. We're not like, there's no conspiracy that all of companies or all white people are racist or don't want to be, to level the playing field for all. I think sometimes it's just evoking conversations to say that, hey, even though you don't understand, let's continue to have conversations that allow us to meet somewhere in the middle. It's not me having to bring you to my side or I bring you to your side. Let's find a happy medium where we can coexist in a place where everybody can walk away feeling like they've gained something. And that's what we've always been.
And really, probably the best compromise is where both sides feel they gain, but also both sides feel like they lost a little.
That's it. And and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
sometimes we become so conditioned to what's normal, and until somebody's like, well, God, Catherine, you always go to the same restaurants. I was like, yeah, that's what I know, but is there a new restaurant you may like that I should go to?
Can you turn your volume up a little bit?
Yes. Did it go down? Hold on.
Okay,
is that better? Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah. So
well.
it becomes a thing of just exposure and making sure that we leave the door open to conversations that, again, may not always be comfortable, but it's so necessary in this.
Exactly.
It is.
I feel like the country, there was so much damage done in the last year from, and everything was politicized. I don't want to be a part of a political system that doesn't bridge the gap. I'm not talking Democrat, Republican, independent. I'm talking about people coming together for change and making sure that in that, those who are disenfranchised are a part of the conversation. For those of us who have been successful, it's one thing, but for those who have somehow lost their way, we have to make sure that we take care of our community. And I'm a big advocate in community. It's not enough to say, oh, I'm good, and I have to make sure that people in my family are good. Sometimes it's stepping outside of your bandwidth to say, hey, I want to help make a difference in our community. And I'm happy to see that activism is alive.
And that's just like this whole COVID stuff. We did, to be honest, I did not want to do the shot. We did it because we felt like, what? Every generation is asked to step up and do something that the World War I's and II's they had to fight. We don't have to fight. We just need a shot. And so we decided, you know what? So the country can open back up and we can get entertainment back. We did our part.
There you go. And Anna, again, it's opening back fast and furiously. I was on a call yesterday and they're like, oh, Lollapalooza is on and they've sold out. People wanting a life. And now I spend a lot of my career.
Yeah, Friday we're going to Nashville for Memorial Day weekend.
We are.
You said you guys are going to Nashville for Memorial Day. It's a great city, a lot of great music, and I've spent a lot of time of my career there. And I grew up really listening to more country, 80s rock and roll and 70s, 80s, 90s R&B, hip hop. So I'm a hush posh of a music executive. But to the point of that is I think for me, I was able to be in all these rooms because I had an appreciation, even though it was different.
Yeah.
It was still stuff I enjoyed. And I think that's where we are today. We just have to be open to knowing that different doesn't mean that it's bad.
My friend Joe made a comment. He said Chris took some heat because I posted on Facebook that we just got the shot.
Yeah, the day we got the 2 different shots.
And he said I took some heat for it, and I did. Well, the funny part was I didn't tell people they should get the shot. I just said we did. I don't,
And that's a personal decision. And I just did a PSA with an organization. Again, I'm not there, but I'm not advocating that people shouldn't take shots. What I know is eventually I think I'm going to get there. but I just said, do your research, understand the pros and cons. You're probably going to be
Absolutely.
limited to where you can travel to outside the U.S. without the vaccine.
Yeah.
Some venues are saying you can only, come into these big venues except you can show that you've been vaccinated.
Right.
So there are all these things that are going to make it difficult. But I still would never tell somebody you shouldn't take a vaccine. It's not my place. I can just only tell you what I feel. I've never had the flu
Exactly.
shot. So for me, I'm like, ugh, I'm a little bit of a newbie to vaccines as an adult, but I'm getting closer there because I have friends in the healthcare business, and most of them have done really well. Most have done really well.
And that's what we were waiting for. We waited for my goal was to see 100 million people get it, and then friends of mine get it, and then I can talk to them, and that made me comfortable enough. Okay, we can
do this. Yeah,
I love that. And again, the beauty is it's your First Amendment right.
Yep,
the government shouldn't be regulating what you should do, but as the country opens up, they have to keep advising people of their choice. And it's still a choice. It's still very much a choice of each person, what they want to do and what time frame they want to do it.
So Joe said at the NFL draft, they had to be vaccinated fan zone.
Oh, they had a vaccinated and an unvaccinated zone.
No, but that's where it's gonna go. The country
is
divided based on whether you have a vaccine or not. Even on the plane, they're saying by summer, like midsummer, you won't have to wear a mask if you're vaccinated. But if you're not vaccinated, you will have to continue to wear the mask. So it's a bit of a quagmire.
And to be honest, since we did the second dose, I haven't worn a mask since, except unless it's required in the business. Then I will. But outside of that, I have not worn a mask.
What about your child? Would you advocate or suggest children? What are your thoughts? I'm curious.
I would rather be the guinea pig, not them now.
I'd rather not under like 12 years old. Yeah.
Which we have a 9-year-old and a 2-year-old. So that's a definite no. Here for
right now, since they're so young.
Are the school systems in your area requiring vaccines or no?
We homeschool, so I don't know.
I'm not sure if they are. Yeah, Christopher's homeschooled. That's right now.
So it wasn't such a heavy lift for you guys when COVID happened on homeschool.
Exactly. Because he had his same routine.
So speaking of COVID, when COVID happened, how did it affect what you do since you're with BMI? I mean, that's entertainment.
Yes.
I have been busier than ever. I don't, for those who said, oh, I had a cruise of a year being home, it has been daunting for me. I took on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force, so that was about a 4-month endeavor. We also was producing everything virtually. Clearly, a lot of the creatives needed support, so a lot of phone time. My days would start at 8, and by 9 o'clock, I'm like, where did the day go? I've also been working on the executive committee for the Black Music and Entertainment Walk of Fame. So Atlanta is going to house a Walk of Fame similar to the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So we'll be inducting our first 12 inductees in June 17th, actually. So I've been slammed. And then just really trying to be a support system. I also have a nonprofit, Hope for Harvest, that provides kind of, after school care. We are opening back up in person for a 30-person summer camp. That's, 6 weeks of activities. Kids have been locked down, so we're trying to jam the schedule. A camping trip we've scheduled. We're going to try to do a trip to Atlanta to see the Martin Luther King Museum and some other historical sites here. So I've had way more on my plate than I can even imagine.
Wow. That's like
my birthday. So
that's like for us. We when we first launched the show, it was January 2020, a couple months before COVID.
Yeah.
And our original plan was to do 100 interviews our first year because we thought that would be a
lot of interviews.
And in fact, we thought that would be pushing it.
We did.
and then COVID happened. And I remember telling Sandy, this could be our silver lining. The whole industry shut down.
So they're open. Time.
They got all the time in the world. Yeah. And now people that are bigger who normally wouldn't come on a brand new show might consider it because they're open. So I was like, you know what? We just put all stops. We're gonna just reach out to everybody we can, and it's funny because then we end up doing over 300 interviews last year, and we're over
No
400 now.
way. Congratulations. But I mean, I think
Oh, thank you.
content, there's such a demand for content right now. Timing wise, most would say, oh, to launch a podcast, you probably were ahead of the curve because a lot of new shows and platforms thrived during COVID, thrived because people were
That's why
on
I'm
their
glad we launched when we did.
huh?
That's why I'm glad we launched when we did. I wouldn't want to be
Yes.
launching right now.
No,
Right.
because people are moving around again, and so I think you've cemented yourself being a year ahead of the game versus someone trying to jump into this space now. I think it would be super challenging, except
I
you're
mean,
some massive celebrity.
who would have thought
Right.
16 months ago that tomorrow we will have Brian Luttrell and his family coming on our show?
Oh, that's
Yes.
amazing.
You
That is
know,
absolutely amazing.
so to go from nothing
Yes,
to a
absolutely
Backstreet
nothing.
Boy. I mean,
Oh, that's
and
amazing. But again, it goes to show you the power of the universe. I often say to people, because that's a question, is how did you survive COVID? I said, the first 2 months it was weird. Not having anywhere to
Yeah.
go. And
Right.
most of music executives, we 2 phones, 3 devices, like you're just, every day. Being able to sit down, I was able to repurpose some ideas. I was able to
Oh, that's
really,
great.
hit the community. Charlotte got hit really hard, and Tent City
Mm.
popped up. There were 400 or 500 family, men, women, and children on the streets. So
Oh,
2 or 3
wow.
times we suited up and prepared full food
Oh,
in my
wow.
building and went out and served food. So for those who really tapped in, really pivoted, I think it gave us all a lot of joy. And then there were those folks who have suffered. Mental health has been, issues have really, risen during this time because people were not used to not being around people. So I also tried to stay in touch with people who I knew were on their own. So it's been a remarkable, sad in many respects, but 2020, and certainly this first half of this year has been pretty remarkable for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about what led you to BMI and exactly what do you do there?
Mm-hmm.
So I was an executive at the Grammys. I opened the Atlanta chapter of the Recording Academy, worked there for about 2 years, and then BMI recruited me to open their office here in '97. So I am the vice president of writer publisher relation, or creatives is what it's called now.
Mm-hmm.
But we deal with affiliates in any genre. Kenny Chesney to a Drake I have signed
Wow.
and worked
Wow.
with. So have had the pleasure of working early with some of the most amazing, talented people. A big fan of Nashville, so I'm really good friends with Dallas Davidson and Luke and
Oh, cool.
Kenny, and
Oh,
a lot of
awesome.
those boys are my buddies, and certainly having
You need to tell them to come on our show.
done. I would love to do that. Thomas Red and his
Oh, wow.
son is they're good
Yeah.
friends. So just dealing with creatives and helping them,
Mm.
get their career set up. We are generally the first stop in what people do when they when I'm sorry, these messages pop up. It startles me.
Oh,
It's we see people early. I met Kenny, before Kenny was Kenny Chesney, and we're still
Wow.
buds to this day. So have had a remarkable time and really seeing people and seeing them blow up and become superstars, but still be great people. So
Now, you've
wow.
watched a lot of changes within the music industry. What surprised you the most, good and bad? One good and one bad.
I think the good thing is streaming leveled the playing field. I think even when you talk about equity and inclusion, buildings were deciding who would be popular based on who they funded. Money
Wow.
can, in some cases, make things better, and then there's things you can be sick and you can have all the money in the world, and if it's incurable, money can't do anything about that. So I think streaming allowed analytics to show who's consuming what. So I think that was the biggest blessing of even the pandemic. Streaming, even though touring was done, radio as we knew it was having some challenges trying to figure out algorithms. Streaming went through the roof, and then all of these new digital platforms popped up
Yeah.
because the
Mhm.
consumption and the demand was so great. There was also high subscription numbers. Netflix and Hulu, all those platforms went through the roof. So I think there was a lot of benefits to it. I think the downside is a lot of musicians suffered because their only way of making money is live shows and studio sessions. So that was really sad. And I think organizations like Music Cares and BMI and ASCAP became a lifeline to folks who weren't making money and needed, money to kind of get themselves through this, very difficult year. So
Yeah, because I mean, when I see the future now, and the technology's always been here, we just never, I guess people never really used it. But I'm already seeing this, and I predicted this about 6 months ago. But I predict that as shows start coming back, you're going to have your live performances in front of fans, but you're going to set up your
virtual,
online concerts
absolutely,
so that people can pay you $5, $10, $20 to still participate. So now it's going to make
fans around the world.
So this is going to make the
Absolutely.
small artists actually be able to make money from touring even more.
That's it. No, it's a great business model, and I know that the buildings early with streaming, was pushing back because they felt like it would diminish the value of their product, and in reality, it saved
It would
the music
enhance.
business. It was an enhancement. So and so I don't think that we're ever not going to have live moments. I think you can see based on these early numbers of festivals, it's going to be bigger and better. I think there's going to be responsibilities on promoters to really figure out how to continue to do it safely. COVID is not gone. I think, the fear is, will it morph to something else? No one knows. I think the CDC is projecting that it could do that. But I think we have to now just take some measure of risk to get back to some sense of normality. I think the world has suffered a great loss. But I think humanity, and for the sake of our psyche, we have to get back to trying to resume business. And to me, I posted recently, I went to a studio session Saturday with Jerry Wanda, who is an incredible producer. He produced for, Shakira and Santana and the Food, just a really hip hop guy, but just a music guy. And being in the studio for the first time after 17 months, I'm a studio rat. I like still being a part of the creative process. I sit there like a kid in the candy store, like giddy, and the vibe and the energy in the room. And he was working with a Colombian artist, and it was just such a good feeling. So I'm ready. And I told my staff when I got back yesterday, I said, I really think we should do a writing session somewhere, and let's get some folks together and let's create some magic. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, Joe said the live shows are probably going to be more expensive, and that's probably true because they have to do
Absolutely.
more stuff.
Absolutely.
It'll probably be less people, so they have to make up the difference.
That's what the streaming platform will do, is for people
Make up the
who
difference.
have health issues or don't want to be in big crowds.
Yeah.
You'll be able to tune into your device with your wine in hand or whatever your beverage of choice is, and watch the show and be a part of that experience. And I also learned that there will be firewalls. So if I'm in, if I have a show that starts in Atlanta and goes to New York, only people in the Georgia area could watch the Atlanta show. So they have firewalls so that people won't be able to see it all over. Or so that gives an experience just relegated to that market. So I thought that was an interesting tool as well. So I think we're going to be creative in this process, and I think we're going to learn that the music business will recover in a big way, because I think innovation will always cure all things.
And let's face it, even when you look back at the 1918 Spanish flu, within 2 years they were back to normal. You're just not going to stop entertainment.
No, it's so necessary for people to be able to go out and dine. And even I was in Miami. Even in Miami, I'm walking around the park, and people headphones on, and it's just about the energy feels it for months. It felt so, people felt dejected, and you felt it when you did. People didn't have to even say it. You just felt the heaviness. I think people are now resuming this feeling of hope, and that's where I'm at. Again, I want to be safe, and I'm advocating still masks where necessary, certainly for those of us who are not vaccinated. But I think we're going to recover as a country, and I think we'll be better and bigger.
And we'll be stronger than ever.
You said bigger, and I said stronger and bigger. All of that is it.
And what's when you also look at pandemics like the 1918, we're almost on the same path. It was a 2-year journey that they went through, and then that led to the Roaring 20s. I think that's what we're now. Granted, we have to be careful that we don't hit the depression 10 years later. But if we do things right, we could have the roaring 20s here.
20 somethings. Yeah, no, that's interesting. You said that, Chris. That's valid. And I try to always be optimistic. I don't ever work from a place of negativity, because I think once you start that mental cycle, it's sometimes daunting. It takes over your thought process. So even when, we saw friends dying and, people couldn't go see their loved ones in the hospital, there were the glimmers of hope that always rose above all the darkness. And I think now we're at a place where people are celebrating. We're not there, but I think we're halfway there. And I think if we continue to be safe and be, protect our personal space, but also, encourage people to make the right choices, whatever that is. Mask on if you're in places and you're not vaccinated, or if you are vaccinated, still take precautions. I think we're going to be, like you said, stronger and better than ever.
Definitely love that. Now, as you know, a lot of people, they look at whether it's artists, whether it's CEOs and all that, but they don't see the teams that help them be who they are. And in our opinion, the teams never get the love that they deserve. But on our show, they do. So if you want to take a few moments, just tell us about the team that helps you be who you are.
You know what? I'm so grateful for that question, because what I really understood early on, watching my mom as a pastor and a philanthropist, serve so many people unconditionally. And for me, I always dreamed grander, and she was boots on the ground. And I think somewhere I was born in that middle place where I was able to function at a high level from a business standpoint, but I always had that grounding human interest where I'm not going to walk by the man on the street who may need $1 from me. What's $1 going to cost me? Nothing. So I have a team. I believe that your energy attracts the type of people you are. I'm super, super, super proud of my team. I have a great group of people that work with me. And I always say, they say for me, they boss me around often. So I say they work with me, because I don't consider myself the boss of me. I even hate that term. But they're super talented. They're great music folks. I've promoted quite a few of my folks recently, so I'm happy about that. Folks on the foundation, even during the pandemic, with their own challenges, got out. The times we went out and fed and gave clothing out. We went to shelters to make sure that kids had the necessary tools. We had several board members that bought devices for Wi-Fi, because some kids, the schools would drop off computers, but they don't have Wi-Fi. So how are we going to get on? Yeah, so we did real work, and it wasn't a solo effort. And I also say I'm so grateful for people like Khaled, like Busta Rhymes, like Dallas Davison, like Dallas Austin. Those are contributors who have supported the work that I do. We don't take government money. It's really folks who believe in our mission and see the work that we do on camera and off. And again, a big part of it.
And you got to have that.
Back to my mom. Yeah.
That's like our show would not be where it is today if we didn't build the trust in the PR companies that we work with.
A lot of great support.
Like your PR company has brought us some really great people. We love them. And we've got other PR companies that's bringing us people from LA and all that. And so it's been, it's been a process.
We would not be here without them.
And I mean, we owe everything. And the funny story is, when we first launched, I'll be honest, I hated the PR company. Because I thought, what, if I personally know this person, why can't I just drag them on our show? I didn't understand there's a process.
Protocol,
And now I'm like, I'll be honest, if a person does not have a PR company, I almost don't want them on my show, because I've realized that we get better quality people who have PR companies.
That happens with PR teams. You're getting the best of the best. So that's not a bad thing to get.
So I definitely flip-flop there from the start of our show to where we are today.
I love that.
But I had to reach out to a friend of mine in Nashville, Cliff Doyle. A little incident happened at the beginning because of this. I got chewed out, cussed out because I reached out to somebody. And he's kind of a mentor to me. So I reached out and says, tell me why. So he explained everything, and I'm like, Okay, that makes sense. I get it now. But see, again, that's almost the thing where if two people are not going to listen to each other,
There you
then
go.
but once because he was a friend of mine,
Yeah,
explained
he
it
had the knowledge there. He's been in the
in a way that
industry
I
for
could
years.
understand it, and I was like, okay,
Mhm.
that actually makes more
Makes
sense
sense.
than what I thought.
Yeah, no. It's lessons of life. You just have to sometimes have a little bump in the road to have you reset and do a little bit more digging to understand the process. And again, I know that well because I have lots of relationships with artists and celebrities of all walks of life that I can call, and there are situations where they'll commit and then say, "I'm doing it." Just tell them I said yes, but call my publicist or my manager. So it works in many ways. But
Yeah.
to your point, they're betters. They're just going to make sure you're getting the cream of the crop.
Exactly, and that's what's been great about it. Like I said, we love the PR teams now, and we still wish we could break through on some of them within the country music genre, the higher ones,
It will
but
happen
it'll
over
happen.
time. It takes time. We've got to build up our
But the good
resume
thing
and
is,
our
what
craft.
we're getting people like Brian Luttrell because they know that if they come on our show, that I'm not going to say something stupid.
Yeah, we've done over 400 shows now.
So, I think that our relationships with all these PR people has been what's got us to where we are today. So, thank God for relationships.
No, it's the best, the best, the best. So I have to jump because I've got a Grammy call, believe it or not, at 2:30.
Oh,
But no,
you
it's
understand?
okay. But I absolutely think you guys are amazing. I cannot wait to have you guys do something with the Walk of Fame once we make those announcements, and we can come
Sounds
back and maybe
Absolutely.
have a couple of our guests
That'll
who
be
are being
great.
inducted.
We
Joanne
love that.
the Otis Redding, James Brown, the Michael Jackson estate, Outcast. So some really amazing folks are being inducted. So
Oh
Joe,
wow.
who's
Oh, wow.
also working with the Walk of Fame, will be able to maybe circle back after we put our first 12 in the ground and have us talk about that. And I can certainly bring one of our guests that's being inducted and have them share that experience. So I will
Yeah.
definitely
That'll be
mention
really
that.
awesome. We would,
Yes, we
and the
look
great thing
forward to
about
that.
StreamYard is like Zoom, we can put more people on here.
We
Oh
can.
yeah, that's amazing. This is great platform. It's been absolutely seamless and it looks good. Yeah, it looks
That's
really
why
good.
we picked this over Zoom because I can brand it.
That's
Yes.
amazing. That's amazing. So I now have to explore StreamYard because it looks really, really, really well. But you got again, guys. Thank you. They said your son was going to maybe come on and
Yeah,
probably.
I can bring him really
I
quick
want to
for
say
one
hi at
question.
least.
Yes.
I'd
Let me
love to
grab
say
him.
hi.
Yeah.
Kids and dogs, adults.
Yep. He's been
Little.
part of almost every show because
I love.
again, we are a
Yeah,
family
I
affair
saw a
show.
note about that. I was like, where is the son? I want to say hi.
In fact, I was leading to that because you see, when I talk about the team, then I lead into okay, we have a third co-host.
I love that. You're grooming him
Yes.
early. I love that. Hi, well, hi, handsome.
Hi, Jack. So what's your favorite food?
Oh, my favorite food is fish tacos.
Ooh, what's yours?
Mine is pizza.
Oh, pizza. I
He's
love
got
that.
three
I love
questions,
pizza
so
too. What's the
Okay,
other
yes.
one?
let's see.
Okay, what's your favorite TV show?
Oh my God, I like Girlfriends. There's a show called Girlfriends I like
Yeah.
a lot.
And what's yours?
Mine is SpongeBob.
I like SpongeBob too. I was watching it with Khaled's son this weekend. I was like, that and Mario Brothers. So I like that. I know that show well too. What's the other one?
Yes. So, what's your favorite movie?
Oh my God. The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh
It's
wow.
one of my favorite movies. What about
And what's
yours?
yours?
Mine is the Minions movie.
Oh, I have to watch that. I've never seen that. I have to watch that. No, Girlfriends. Somebody said takes me back. No, I love Girlfriends, and I'm actually doing something with Kirk Frequa, who's a
Oh, wow.
composer for that show. So
Bye.
bye so much, guys. Thank you guys so much for having me. And again, I promise Joe will work it out. I'll come back on with some of my folks, and we'll
Sounds
talk more
good.
about the Walk of Fame and what that long-term goal is for the Walk of Fame here in Georgia. And you
Well, we
guys
would
in
love
Savannah,
that.
so maybe one of the ceremonies you can make a road trip up.
That would be cool.
We will try to do that. That sounds
All right,
great.
guys. Thank you.
All right.
Have a
All right.
wonderful
Thanks
day,
so
and
much.
thanks for having me.
All right. You have a
Oh,
great
thanks
day.
for being here.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.